Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is a podcast dedicated to helping accounting, bookkeeping, and tax professionals start and build successful bookkeeping accounting businesses in order to actually offer quality services. As it relates to actually running your business, we're going to address on this show various topics that range from marketing, selling, pricing, tech stacks, having the experts on the show to actually help us run our businesses. Today's going to be no exception. Each and every week I have on the experts, and Michael Rozbruch happens to be exactly that. He is a CPA and certified tax resolution specialist, a pioneer in the tax resolution industry. He has a proven track record where he's actually evidenced by accumulating over 168 month-over-month consecutive revenue growth, accumulating in $23 million in revenue in just 1 year alone. Michael happens to be nationally recognized as an entrepreneur and is the founder of Roz Strategies and Michael Rozbruch's Tax and Business Solutions Academy. He does e-learning, training, coaching, basically helping CPAs and accountants, enrolled agents, attorneys build highly profitable practices through proven marketing systems and strategies. But he doesn't stop there. He also trains you on how to close the sale, manage the client relationship, and knows firsthand how to best actually work with the IRS problem clients, niching practices to where they can run and operate successfully. So, Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Roger. I'm glad to be here. I'm very excited to be on with you.
This is going to be a wonderful discussion. You are by far the tax resolution king. So I think this is going to be a great conversation. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to get some context, help my listeners understand a little bit of your background. What got you into the tax profession? Give us a little bit of a backstory here.
All right. Well, I started as a staff accountant way back when after college. And I worked my way up in the corporate world. And then after being let go a couple of times at the higher level as a CFO, controller, and director of finance, I realized I was unemployable. I realized that there was no way I was ever going to work for anyone ever again. And I was in the corporate world for 18 years.
Yeah.
I was 42 years old before I hung out my own shingle. And how I got into the tax resolution business is kind of interesting because I'm a C-SPAN nerd, so I was watching in 1997 the Senate Finance televised hearings.
Which everyone was.
Yes, exactly. Where the average American got up in front of the TV cameras and talked about how the IRS ruined their lives, padlocked their businesses, spouses dying of heart attacks from the stress. And these were not bad people. These were not people that were evading taxes and had money in the Caymans. These were your average American taxpayer who, for whatever reason, a negative life-altering event took place in their life, putting the filing and paying of the taxes on the back burner. And I made a decision right then and there that I was going to help these people. I didn't know how. I didn't have any book of business. I didn't have any IRS experience. My tax experience consisted of doing some manual 1040s for family and friends, but I always loved a good fight. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm a street kid. I love the David versus Goliath scenario.
Yeah.
And I learned by doing. And by the way, back then, there were no resources around like there are today.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into it.
I love your backstory, just the idea that you can pinpoint that very moment when you were watching C-SPAN and you realized, okay, there's a thing I can get passionate about, a mission I can take on. And by darn, you're helping the little guy, right? You're actually trying to go in and help those that, like you were saying, they're not necessarily trying to be tax evaders. They're just in a position where they can't pay what they're needing to pay, what they owe. And you're able to come in and actually offer a service to help mitigate that. So let me kind of get some context here for my listeners. Clearly, there's bookkeeping, there's accounting, there's tax preparation, there's tax planning, there's tax resolution. Help distinguish what is tax resolution as it relates to just basically that service alone.
So the tax resolution is when someone has filed a balance due return and can't afford to pay. And usually that person doesn't raise their hand and say they need help until they get some really nasty letters from the IRS, otherwise known as the final notice intent to levy. Also, people that get audited, for whatever reason, the IRS says that they're not going to allow certain expenses, and then there's an audit assessment that they can't pay. Or let's take a business, an entity that owes payroll taxes. And payroll taxes, by the way, if you get behind after the first 16 days of getting behind on 941 taxes, there's another 33% added to the balance when you add up all the different types of penalties they hit you with and interest. So tax resolution is dealing with a back tax situation where people just can't take out their checkbook, write a check in full, pay the IRS lump sum.
So in a situation like that, there's a few questions that I've gotten. I'm so excited to have this conversation. First of all, I'm in a situation where I owe taxes, not me personally, by the way, but
Sure.
I'm in a situation where I owe taxes. I need someone in my corner, right? I need somebody that's going to help me talk to the IRS. I'm in a situation where I don't know where to go, what to say. And like you were just describing with the stresses, I'm probably not really thinking straight at this point. So to come in as a tax advisor and help me or someone in that situation would be hugely beneficial because of the state of confusion and frustration. Would you add anything to that scenario?
Yeah. I mean, look, even practitioners get bulldozed over by the IRS machine because they feel intimidated. So can you imagine the layperson consumer taxpayer trying to call the IRS and trying to do this themselves?
Yeah.
And by the way, right now, the IRS just hired about 7,000 phone assisters. Those are ACS agents, PPS agents, and I got to tell you, I'll be very blunt here. They're senseless and untrained. So our job as a tax resolution specialist is actually training them on the job and how to do things properly.
Yeah, I appreciate you pointing that out because you're right. The IRS is growing quite a bit. They're hiring these positions, and the assumption is you finally get somebody on the phone or you're meeting with somebody. The assumption is they know exactly what they're talking about. But in reality, with what we're discussing, it's very likely that offering tax resolution services, you as the enrolled agent, the CPA, you very likely could be the expert in the room.
Absolutely. I got news for everyone. You probably know more about tax resolution than the person that you're speaking to at the IRS these days.
Yes.
I mean, it's really, there's a huge disconnect between the IRS top brass saying how everybody is trained versus what's happening on the street. Because we have 450 members that I speak to throughout the year, and a couple of private Facebook groups, and I see what's going on right now. It's not pretty.
Yeah. So let's give this some context to the tax preparer. Here I am. I'm doing taxes. I've got some experience having done a few returns over the years. I'm in a position where I'm enjoying the tax service that I'm providing my clients, and somebody comes to me and says, I need some tax resolution services. Help them understand why an EA, a CPA, an attorney is needed in that dialogue.
Sure. So being a CPA, an enrolled agent, or an attorney, you are so uniquely qualified because you're the only 3 credentialed people on the planet that can put your name on a power of attorney, a 2848, and represent that client. So just by having that license sets you apart from the rest.
Yeah, so it's not like mom and dad can come into the room with me and help me. It's not like my best friend can. When I'm in this situation, there are 3 people I can lean on. It's the CPA, it's the EA, and the attorney. And they're the ones that I can put into my court to actually help me in this dialogue with the IRS. So I think that's hugely important. It gives validation to why someone would want to become an EA, for example.
Yeah, it kind of, and you have a lot of listeners that are EAs, and this frustrates me to no end. So, Roger, there's about 90,000 enrolled agents in the country. Less than 25% have a CAF number, meaning they've never registered a 2848 to represent a client, meaning 75% of enrolled agents do not do representation work, yet they are uniquely qualified to do it because they are afraid of messing up. They're afraid of making a mistake. And here's the deal. Someone comes to you owing $75,000, has 4 years of unfiled returns. They're being levied by their employer. What's one thing you could do to make that person's situation worse? Nothing. There's nothing you can do to make that person's situation worse. As a matter of fact, you provide immediate relief just by registering your power of attorney with the CAF unit, because now, mandated by law, you have stepped into the shoes of the taxpayer, and the IRS is mandated to talk to you and correspond to you, not the client. That's a huge burden.
Beautifully said. I love it, because what's happening here is this individual is basically hopeless. They don't know what to do, where to turn, and they have
Yep.
no one in their corner. So to have someone say, yes, I will come and stand by you, means a lot to these people. And I agree with you.
Hmm.
It's not making the situation any worse. It's actually giving them a pathway to resolve this. So I appreciate your explanation there. The next thing I'd like to ask is, I'm the tax preparer. The tax professional. And as the tax professional, I'm going to do that. How do I get paid? I mean, one of the things that I think is a reasonable question to ask is, this person clearly doesn't have the means to pay the $75,000. How do I get paid?
So when I first started in this business, all my CPA and lawyer friends asked me the same question. They go, Mike, are you crazy? How are you going to get paid when someone owes 100 grand to the IRS? And my knee jerk was in advance, of course. So I figured out, I have a cost accounting background. So at the early stages, I figured out how long it took me to release a levy. How long did it take me to set up an installment agreement? How long did it take me to submit, negotiate, offer and compromise? So I came up with a fixed fee, value priced, flat fee type model. And I also came up with how to get paid in advance before the case settles, because in an offer and compromise, it takes 12 to 14 months before from submission to acceptance, not due to my workload, but due to the IRS's workload.
Yep.
So if I get a nice retainer deposit to start, I could carry that client for 8, 10 months where they're paying me for my fee. And by the time 10 months rolls around, I'm paid in full and their case will settle in the next couple of months.
Yeah, and one of the things that I would add to what you're describing here is, because somebody owes $100,000, as you mentioned, it doesn't mean they don't have $3,000, $5,000. To suggest that somebody who owes $75,000, $150,000 doesn't have any pennies to rub together is, I think, a misrepresentation of what's going on here. I do feel that in many instances they do have the means to pay for your services, even though they may not be able to pay the lump sum fee that's perhaps owed. And you're going to come in their corner and hopefully help them actually mitigate that or defer that and give them some means to actually afford your services.
Also, Roger, I can't tell you how many people I would have the conversation with clients saying, hey, look, if they said they really didn't have money, and I would know that because they have to financially address in front of me when I take them through a 433A financial consultation. So I would see if they had any money. And I would say to them, hey, Roger, this is that one time you need to make that dreaded phone call to your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, to have them lend you or front you some money. Because I'll tell you what, if you don't take care of this, forget about having a legacy. You'll be living under a rock because you won't be able to have a bank account in your name. You won't be able to have any real property in your name. So this is that one time that you got to make that phone call. And I got to tell you that a lot of people would borrow from their relatives to get this handled if they didn't have the money.
Yeah, well, and I wouldn't go so dire, but I agree that does happen. One of the things that I would just point out is, even though they have that great lump sum that they owe, they probably do have some monies that they can put together. And at the same time, they might have, this might be that one time that you do justify going into the 401k and taking out an early withdrawal, or you end up selling something that you wouldn't otherwise sell long before the IRS comes and acquires your assets. So,
yeah, one of the ways we strategize and choreograph the consultation is to handle a lot of these objections along the way. So by the time the close comes, all those objections are handled. And usually when people say they don't have money, what they're really saying is that this is not a priority in my life right now. So the consultation is built around showing or illustrating how this is a priority in your life. And all of a sudden, when it's a priority in your life, magically the money shows up to pay the professional.
Yeah, it might be time to cancel that vacation they've got on the horizon. Yeah. So here's the next question. We spoke of, obviously, the IRS ramping up, hiring these additional people. They just received a good deal of funding. So my question then is, you spoke of the EAs and many of them actually not offering tax resolution services. So there's this big thing of, is there a demand and is there a market, coupled by, is it already saturated by EAs that provide this service? I mean, what would you say about those two questions?
Right. So a lot of people, a lot of practitioners hear the radio commercials. They see the late night TV ads. So they figure that the market must be saturated because look at all these people advertising. And what that tells me is that it's just the opposite. There's 25 million people right now in the US that either hasn't filed several years of returns and or owes the IRS. There are less than 6,000 people, firms nationally that are intentional about marketing for tax resolution clients. So there is way more demand than there is supply, especially now. And I can talk about the announcement the IRS came out with a press release just 2 days ago. But I love hearing those commercials as a practitioner because it brings awareness to the general public that this service exists. And by the way, 99% of people would rather stay local and go to their local provider than call some 800 number 10 states away and speak with a high-pressured salesperson.
Yeah, yeah. You know, great point, and I agree with you. I think it's wonderful that the advertisement does take place because it does bring an awareness of, while there is a service out there, I guess I should ask whether or not someone can help me with this tax resolution situation. So I like this. All right, so here's the next question, and this is something that I think you can clearly address. In accounting, there's a lot of niche discussion. You know, should I niche my services? Should I focus in on a certain industry or a certain type of service? Is there enough work in tax resolution that you could actually focus on it and really have that become your primary service that you're providing? Or is this kind of a onesie, twosie type thing that I'll just supplement my revenue, and it's good to offer as a service if I'm providing it to my clients?
Both are true, Roger. However, I have niched in many areas. Realtors and real estate agents is a great niche for tax resolution. Actually, anything connected to the trades, carpenters, drywallers, pavers, landscape architects, electricians, anyone who is self-employed or on a 1099 independent contractor, they're 5 times more prone to have an IRS issue because they never put money away for estimated payments. We have one member who specializes, his niche is entrepreneurs. So he's not going after the 1040 liability. He's going after 941 payroll tax liability, which command much higher fees. They're much more complicated cases. They're a higher debt outstanding to the IRS. So you can definitely niche down, but you can also be broad-based too. I mean, to start, I would probably go broad, unless as a tax preparer, you have clients that you enjoy working with, and you can niche down to that level as well. It's just in your marketing message and finding out where those people hang out, either online or offline.
You know, just 2 weeks ago, I had a I did a presentation, I should say, where I was speaking as to why someone should become an EA. Why, you know, if I'm not already a CPA, should I become a CPA, an EA, and so forth? And so I was addressing that, and not to do my presentation right now, but the point is there is a great deal of value becoming an EA, and tax resolution is clearly one of those services that you could couple with becoming an EA. So here's my question for you. When somebody's considering offering EA services, is the resolution route something that they should then consider? Is this something that they could quickly get up and running and have for the next tax season?
Absolutely. You know, I always, people ask me the same question too. Should I get my CPA or get my EA? And the path of least resistance is, of course, an enrolled agent certificate, because you don't need college. You don't need 4 years or 5 years of college. It's an exam, yes. But I tell folks who are tax preparers that getting your EA is a new ticket to a new life.
Oh, yeah.
It's a ticket to a new life, and you could start it right now for this tax season. By the way, tax season is the absolute best time of the year to offer tax resolution services because taxes are top of mind with everybody. And the IRS had a press release just 2 days ago. And if you read the press release, the first part of it was, we're giving 5 million people $1 trillion in penalty relief on their 2020 and 2021 tax return. Okay, if it's just for failure to pay, not failure to file, and you have to owe under 100 grand, and 941s were excluded. But if you read between the lines in the next paragraph, the IRS finally, after 2.5 years, are switching the campus switch, the ACS, I call that campus collections. They're flipping the switch back on to sending out collection notices for all the prior years. They just sent out the 2022 collection notices a couple months ago, and a lot of our members are seeing a large uptick in business. In the first quarter of 2024, they're going to start sending out millions and millions of collection notices on 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So the avalanche, the floodgates are starting to open, which they were closed for nearly 2.5, 3 years.
I love this because I was going to ask, what is the state of the union as it relates to the IRS? Are they going to become a lot more engaged in trying to collect these back taxes? Is there, in fact, a push by them to go after these people that are in default? And clearly there is this opportunity, and it's a wave bigger than I think we can even comprehend, merely because of the fact that not only are we providing tax preparation services, maybe we're doing some tax planning and advisory services, but this wave of individuals that are going to be walking in the door, the 25 million that you alluded to that have not been paying taxes, they're going to need some type of way of dealing or coping with this. And we're the ones they should be turning to, right?
Yeah. A lot of those people, Roger, never got notices. They filed their 2020-21 return. The IRS sent out the first notice because by law they have to send out a CP-14, which is a reminder notice, and then nothing. No notices, no nothing. So that's why the IRS is saying, hey, we're going to give you some penalty relief, but you got to come, raise your hand. It's kind of like a Trojan horse. If you recall back in 2020 and 2021, people had to file returns to get the stimulus money.
Yes.
A lot of people were non-filers. So when the government came up with $600 and $1,200 and $1,400 stimulus payments, all of a sudden, tax preparers were busy preparing delinquent returns, but it's a Trojan horse because now the IRS has that taxpayer's information. They have that taxpayer's bank account. I'm telling you, all heck is going to break loose in 2024.
Amen. Amen. No, you just explained it extremely well because what happened is they all came to the table. I consider it one of those sting operations that you sometimes see where they actually say you've won tickets to maybe a bowl game or something like that, and they send it out to all the people that have outstanding warrants, and all these people come in thinking they've won the lotto. They're going to get this great gift. Everyone there that's processing it is part of the DA or they're part of the police force. They go in, they take them into a separate room, and they process them because they had to bring identification to claim the award, right?
Exactly.
It's the exact same philosophy.
Exactly.
No, it's amazing. I think it's just, it's almost too humorous to realize it. So it's kind of funny. All right. So here are a few things that I want to ask you. Let's consider myth busting type questions. All right. The tax resolution market is saturated. We've already addressed that, right? We can definitely say that that's not a thing. The second, I'm afraid of making a mistake. I'm not familiar with the work. How do you address, I'm going to be an EA. I'm going to have a client there. I'm standing before the IRS. I'm possibly going to be the one knowing more than anyone in the room. What if I make the mistake? Because clearly I'm the one that should know most.
Well, there's a lot of resources today to learn the technical part of of resolution. And I always tell folks that the technical piece is actually the easy piece. Because if you think about it, the IRS really only offers 5 major resolution options for any taxpayer. That's an installment agreement, a partial pay installment agreement, an offer in compromise, a hardship, which is known as currently not collectible, or penalty abatement, and innocent spouse. That's it. There's not 30, there's not 40, there's 5 or 6 options. So by doing the work, I learned by doing. That's how I learned, because like I said earlier, there were no resources around, or very little, when I started. So I had to learn from in the trenches experience, and I made mistakes. But the mistakes I made, look, if I made a bad mistake, I would refund the taxpayers money. I mean, that's what I did at the beginning. But I also learned. I learned through my failures. I learned through my mistakes on how to do it better. And when it comes to the IRS, there are 9 ways to skin the IRS cat. There's a lot of tools and tips and strategies in our toolbox that we can take out and resolve a taxpayer's account. There's really a lot of different ways to do this.
Well, there's something here that I really appreciate. It's the fact that there is this cookie cutter approach, in the sense that the IRS is saying, here are the choices. Do you want option A, option B, option C? Do you want door number 1, door number 2, door number
Yes.
3? And I think that's one of the things that's very helpful in this conversation, because it's not like we're going to go in there and mediate some never before heard of
Correct.
solution. There's basically these options, and we've got to work within those parameters. So I like that understanding, because accounting professionals, we kind of like absolutes in that respect. So that's helpful. Here's the next thing. I think there's value in your community in realizing that they don't have to be offering this service in a vacuum. They don't have to be doing this alone. The fact that you provide a community in which some people can lean on other experts and actually
Yes.
get some support and resources is hugely valuable. What can you say to that?
Yeah, so we like to think of our community almost like a movement. I've been told by several folks that our community is one of the most engaged they've been in. We have different levels of communities, different levels of membership. We have a couple different masterminds, but being able to be in a community with like-minded professionals who are doing tax resolution, if you have a question or not sure about something, people will post that. Other professionals that have been in my world for a long time will go in, and I don't even have to answer a lot of them, because I have disciples, if you will, that go in and answer those questions. So it's very important to be connected to some kind of community for support, because as an entrepreneur, Roger, you know this, we all feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
We're in an office, maybe we have a couple of people that are on staff, but if we're in our own little world, and as an entrepreneur, it gets lonely sometimes. So being in a community with others that you get together with in person and online makes a huge difference in the success of those folks.
100% agree. One of the things that I really use as a philosophy about life, and I really apply this in a lot of the things I deal with, is this idea of abundance. And when you're a tax professional and you're doing tax resolution, you shouldn't look at another tax professional or a tax resolution specialist as your competition and
Correct.
the adversary. There are plenty of clients to go around, more than all of us can take care of. And what we need to realize is some of the individuals needing these services will go to the competition, let's say, but some will come to me, and the people that come to me wouldn't have gone to them. And so we just have to understand that as a community, as a profession, we need to be helping one another offer quality services, rather than feeling as if we're working in a vacuum and it's up to us to know everything and be all end all to everyone. So if we can actually take that community mindset, the person that's actually offering tax resolution services in Brooklyn, New York is not my competitor in Las Vegas, Nevada.
It's not your competitor even a few miles away,
Exactly.
because there is so much demand.
Yeah.
There are so many people that there is and one of the things that I did when I was in practice, and I still do with Raw Strategies, is I don't really concern myself with the competition. I don't. I look at what I could do better and how much value I can provide to
Amen.
my customers, to my clients. Don't be looking across over your shoulder at the competition and look what they're doing. You'll just get distracted. It's negative energy. Just concentrate on your own skill set and build value with your clients on your own.
Be your own best. You'll
Yes.
the people that need your services will be gravitated to you, and that's what we're looking for. No, this is wonderful. Next question regarding the resolution services. Sometimes people are questioning, okay, how do I price this? How do I determine what the fee is? What's the average revenue that I should be expecting if I was choosing to offer this service? What can we answer regarding pricing?
So we publish a very specific guideline for fees. And I don't care if you're in Indiana with a population of 10,000 people or you're in Manhattan. It does not matter. People get in their head that, oh, people won't pay this in my area. Yeah, maybe for tax prep, because it's a lot of folks that I know that are doing tax prep, when they advertise price on their website, they've distinguished themselves as a commodity.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're only competing on price, it's just a race to the bottom. With a value-based pricing model like tax resolution, because of the skill set and the value you provide. Look, someone comes to you owing $100,000 and you can reduce that to $10,000. I would tell people that where could you go for $20,000? And if you see what I just did there, Roger, I added the 10,000 that I think I can settle the case for,
Mhm.
and $10,000 for my fee. And I would say, Roger, where could you go and put $20,000 in an investment today that would return you 80 grand in 14 months?
Wow.
Nowhere. The guy's going to say, where do I sign? So,
I just don't want to do that investment, by the way.
right, right. Right. But so there's a way how to position the value you're providing. Now, sure, you need some experience and do a few cases till you can get to that point. But my average fee when I was in practice was $8,700 per engagement. Our members range for anywhere from $5,000 to $12,000 per engagement. So, because every single thing that you do has an attached value to it. In other words, if I'm getting transcripts and analyzing the transcripts for CSED dates, bankruptcy, dischargeability, to see what notices have been issued, that's a $1,500 service. Okay. If I do tax returns, getting the delinquent tax returns, getting the client in compliance, I charged $400 for a simplified W-2 13 years ago. And then if they had a levy, I charged $1,000 for the levy release. And let's say it was an offer and compromise and they owed 50 grand. That was about $5,000 for that. So you see how I've built the fee there?
Yep.
And that's what we do. That's what I teach.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, one of the things that I think can be overwhelming or intimidating is the pricing side of this. It's great that I have a service, there's a demand. Clearly, I know what I can do in order to take care of the client. But how do I not only determine the price, but how do I present the price? How do I help articulate what it is I'm providing as value?
Here's how I teach to present the price, because this is what I did. If you don't want to get pushback on your pricing, you take a guideline fee schedule, print it on yellow paper in black and white, laminate it, and when you get to the fees, you actually show the client, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this, and right next to it is the fee. When people see fees in black and white, there's no pushback versus verbally shouting out, not shouting out, but verbally saying, oh, this is going to be 8 grand to handle. When they see it in black and white, trust me, there is very little pushback. And that's how I teach them to price their cases.
I love it. No, that is wonderful advice. I appreciate the illustration of having something in print because I agree with you. When somebody sees it in print, it totally changes the discussion from just verbally hearing a dollar amount. So
not only that, Roger, but it telegraphs to the prospective client, this guy or gal must know what they're doing. They have a price list for this stuff.
Oh, yeah. A whole list of services.
Yes.
And what I like about your illustration, and this is something I talk to when I'm going over pricing, is if I'm able to illustrate, here are the variety of services that I offer, all of which have a cost, but you only need, of the 10, 15 I'm listing, these 4. Yes. It helps the client realize I'm not overselling you. There's clearly more I could throw onto the list here that I'm realizing you don't need. And so for the client to realize, my heavens, there's 15 things listed here. And he's saying I only need to pay for these 3, and that's the cost. It makes the conversation so much easier because the client doesn't feel oversold.
100%. 100%. Great point.
Yeah, love this. All right. So I want to now kind of go and take this in a different direction here. You're clearly the guru as it comes to tax resolution. I just think what you're doing is amazing. But I want to ask, how has your life changed after that C-SPAN moment where you finally realized, I'm now an entrepreneur, I've got a service, I'm going to go on this, more or less a mission, if I dare say, and go into this space. How's your life changed? What's come of it?
So tax resolution gave me a life beyond my wildest imagination. I was able to pay for 2 bat mitzvahs in cash. I put my kids through private school without going into debt. I get to do what I want to do when I want to do it most times, not all the time. I was introduced to a ton of great people. One of the things that I did, Roger, is I invested in myself quite a bit, because if you're going to make any type of investment, it should be in yourself first, because that will help you attain and maintain a lifestyle. So I always wrote checks to the gurus in sales
Uh-huh.
or in marketing. I wanted speed of implementation, and I wanted to go. You got to be teachable, you got to be coachable, you got to leave your ego at the door. But that's what I did to learn not only the technical piece, but more importantly, the marketing and sales piece. Because nothing happens in this world until there's a sale made, and most professionals, especially accountants, they say, because I see some of the other groups that I'm in, well, I don't want to be a salesperson. Look, if you're an owner of your business, you are the number one salesperson, whether you like it or not. So you need to embrace, maybe sale. They don't like the word sales. Maybe they should use chief persuader or chief convincer. But sales is one of the most important things you could do if you're a business owner. You have to learn that. You have to embrace it.
Amen. I have to wholeheartedly agree. There's a statement that we have. It's in one of the books that we've written. It's called Nothing Happens Until You Make a Sale. And the
Yeah,
reason for that is simply this. You could be the greatest athlete, the greatest tax resolution specialist. You could be the greatest chef. If nobody's paying you for your services, it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
right. Yeah, I like to define exactly right. I like to define marketing as getting that person either face to face or on a phone call with you. And sales is actually converting them into a paying client.
Yep. I would actually, for those people that struggle seeing themselves as salespeople, they perceive it as a negative. I
Yes.
would encourage them to actually consider a different approach, an alternative, which is you have an individual, let's refer to them as a peer, an adult who has a challenge, a struggle, or has an opportunity that they could take advantage of. And you're there to help them navigate that decision.
Yeah.
You're helping them become informed so that they can feel as if they're making an informed decision. It's
Yep.
not persuasive in the sense that I'm trying to get you to do something you otherwise wouldn't do. You're in a situation where you have a challenge or an opportunity and you have to make a decision, and I'm just helping provide you the information to make an informed decision. At the end of the day, it's two people addressing an issue. It's not me against another person. And so if that relationship could be in your mind, I think it changes the paradigm that you're in as you're interacting with that other person. It's not an adversarial relationship where you're
It's a
trying to take from
collaboration.
them. Yes, it's the collaboration. It's exactly right.
Yeah, I used to tell folks, look, and this was part of my consultation, all of them. I would say, Roger, I don't have a magic wand that I can wave and that your tax liability is going to go away. This is a collaborative project, and I need 110% of your cooperation. Can we agree to that? So I get that buy-in up front, because tax resolution clients are the biggest procrastinators on the face of the planet. Okay, if you think you're going to send them 4 income tax guide and organizers to fill out and get back by a certain date, you got another thing coming. You're going to need to get on the phone or have a staff person get on the phone and go through that organizer with them, and then prepare the return with the wage and income transcripts that you get from the IRS. Same thing, filling out a 433A questionnaire. It's 8 pages. No one in their right mind is going to fill that out without any help. So it's a collaborative project. But the client has to know that when you do call or email or text, that you expect a response and being cooperative as soon as possible.
Yep. And I would add to what you just described, as much as they are procrastinators, clearly there's a reason why they're in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it is because of their personal characteristics. But coupled with that, they have something uniquely going on. The IRS has now ramped up the game. This isn't going away. You can't defer this any longer. You can't procrastinate. Just avoiding it isn't going to make it go away. You have to now address and deal with this, and I'm here to be on your side. And it will cost money. You have to pay me for my services, but I'm here to make it so that this will come to a conclusion, one which you're actually going to not necessarily be grateful for, but you'll be grateful it's over.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
this is good. All right. So the next thing, what are you grateful for?
Oh man. So I'm grateful for so many things. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for I got healthy kids. I have a healthy granddaughter. I'm grateful that my bills are paid. I got some money in the bank. I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. I'm grateful that there's food in the fridge. I'm grateful that I have transportation, and I'm grateful that I'm on this call with you today.
Thank you. It's good. Life is good. The next question, you've mentioned it. You've got these two boys that you've done the bar mitzvahs for. What do you hope that they've taken, your children, from this experience of watching you, their father, start this business, grow this business? What do you hope they've actually observed and learned as they've seen you go on this journey that you've been on?
That's another podcast session. Yeah, it's all I can say is that I have two daughters. They were bat mitzvahs. So I have two girls.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay,
two
good.
girls.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
They would appreciate that.
Yes. One is in business for herself. She's a clinical psychologist. She went on and got her PhD. And my other one is also an entrepreneur. She does floral arrangements and does wedding event planning. So both of them saw from a very young age that being on your own, being an entrepreneur, you can do a lot of things that you wouldn't ordinarily do if you were a W-2 employee.
So I have to ask, did either of your daughters, as they ran their business, have either of them gotten an IRS notice that you're able to say, Dad, help me?
I've gotten IRS notices.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. You've got a dot on your head for that one.
Yeah, no. When I was early on, when I first started, I did incorporate. I was a sole prop Schedule C.
Okay.
And I had a really good year. And I didn't put enough money away for estimated payments. So I had to negotiate my own installment agreement. It was short term. It was only maybe 11 months or so.
Yeah.
And another time I got a notice with regarding mortgage interest. The IRS was challenging that I was deducting interest on a loan that was above a certain amount, and they were wrong. So, I've got my own share. Thank God they haven't. I
love it. I love this. Michael, this has been an amazing conversation. I truly enjoyed it. It's exactly what I was hoping for. So thank you for this. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to summarize a little bit of our conversation here, and then at the same time, come back to you for a closing thought. As I summarize this, I do want to share with our listeners, there happens to be an offer here that you don't want to miss. It's basically a chance for you to take advantage of Michael's 2-hour master class marketing and sales, so much more as it relates to tax resolution. It's a 2-hour masterclass on tax resolution services. You just need to go to the episode description to get the information you need to take advantage of that. Basically, it's going to be on his website. So what we're going to do is encourage you to go to the episode description for that information. In addition to that, I do want to invite you as listeners to check out what it is you can be doing to offer tax services. If you're not currently providing those services, Universal Accounting Center does provide information as to give you the skills, the training, the confidence to market and sell tax preparation services as a professional tax preparer. So you definitely want to go to the episode description to find out information regarding becoming a tax service as it relates to just providing tax preparation services. And then clearly that would be complemented by your ability to become an EA. If you're interested in that, we have EA preparation courses that or a EA prep course that you can take. And then lastly, then begin offering these tax resolution services that we've been discussing today. The other thing I want to point out is with regards to this summary, there are so many things to really kind of take in. One is this epiphany that Michael had watching C-SPAN. We all have those moments in our history where I believe we're sitting down and there's that moment of clarity that comes as it relates to this trajectory we now find ourselves on as we're running and operating our businesses. That moment is very rewarding in the sense that it's self-affirming, I believe. And what I'm hearing from Michael as he explains, he got on that mission. He really felt that this is something that he wanted to champion. That's one of those things that I really can kind of resonate with. And many of the clients I work with share those same types of stories or experiences. The other thing that I thought was very powerful is Michael's ability to clearly state the need as it relates to the customers we're serving when tax resolution is going on. It's not these scheming individuals that are out there trying to mischievously avoid taxes. I think oftentimes it's correct to believe that it's individuals that have had life experiences that have unfortunately come their way. It's put them into situations where they just are now at a loss as to how to pay the taxes that they understand they owe. They just don't have the means to do so. And so they start to run scared, run with fear. And I'm sure that this molehill becomes a mountain that they just don't know how to address it. And they've neglected it for so long that the IRS is catching up. And here we can come in and actually help this situation, help these individuals navigate the storm that they're in. And so hopefully what we can do is become kind of those little saviors where we can make their lives a little bit better. And as a tax resolution specialist, we can clearly get paid for these services. And one of the things that I thought was very impactful as he explained this was the wave that's now going to be coming as the IRS now goes for back taxes. And as those resolution notices go out, or those tax notifications go out, there's going to be a huge demand for resolution services. So I really think that we're on the cusp of a lot of people coming out of the woodworks needing these services. And so I expect that this is an opportunity that we don't want to pass off, whether we choose to complement the services we're currently offering as to include tax resolution services, or if it's something that we want to just embrace and go wholeheartedly in and become tax resolution specialists solely offering the services. I think both are wonderful alternatives. But at the end of the day, if you're not already an EA, definitely consider becoming one, and at the same time, checking out with Universal Accounting Center how you can actually begin offering those services and going down that path. And at the same time, reaching out to Michael's community and becoming a participant there. So, Michael, what would you like to add as a closing thought to this?
Well, this was incredible. This was a great interview. All I can say is that if you are an EA, if you're listening and if you are a tax preparer and you're not an EA, if you're a tax preparer and you're not an EA, you should really consider signing up for Roger's EA exam review course, because that is your ticket to a new life. That means that you can now put your name on a 2848 on a power of attorney and represent clients. And actually, one of the things that was such an intrinsic feeling for me is saving people's financial lives. Other than it's so much different than a tax return because you're reporting on history. If I can give an example, if you have a long-term client that you've been servicing for 10 or 12 years doing a tax return, and this last year, no matter what you do, you've worked 15 hours on their tax return, and no matter what you do, they still owe $36,000 to the feds, $4,700 to the state. When you deliver that news to that client, trust me, they don't like you anymore. As opposed to that same client smiling, shaking your hand as they walk out of the office, and you collecting a nice check for resolving their tax issue. It's a huge difference.
Yeah, we too often get shot as the messengers in this whole story. So that's very, very true. It's not our bill. It's the IRS's bill. That's right. So very, very true. And so, Michael, this has been a wonderful experience. Truly appreciate you coming on the show. I knew this was going to be a lot of fun, and it clearly was. So that's great. To my listeners, if you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, definitely encourage you to do so. Each and every week, we come out with new episodes highlighting experts to actually help us run successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax businesses. And this has been no exception to that. So if you haven't subscribed, set your notifications so that you get those each and every week when the new episodes are released. Also, you can go to universalaccounting.com, and there find in the episode descriptions basically a playlist collection of various topics that you can go binge listen. We have topics of experts addressing issues ranging from marketing, selling, client stack or technology stacks, onboarding services, mental health, and so many other topics that you can dive into based on your current situation and needs. So definitely take advantage of that. Also, we have GrowCon. If you haven't already registered for GrowCon, we look forward to seeing you at the annual event. It's basically an event conference for owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses. Love to have you come. It's there that you get to hear from the experts, basically see what it is you can be doing to work on your business. You also get to meet with your peers, make those connections, collaborate, and more importantly, see what it is you can be doing from those around you. And then lastly, it's the team, the members here at Universal Accounting Center. You get to see those individuals that are committed to helping you actually build what I refer to as the premier accounting firm in your area. Why? It's so that you can be in business for yourself, but not by yourself with Universal Accounting. Also, with regards to this, if you have any questions regarding these topics or others, feel free to reach out to us. You can go to universalaccountingschool.com or give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. And always remember this, if it's about accounting, it is Universal. Take care. Be safe out there.